Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and while I've seen a lot of new updates as of recently, between the patch 11.05, breaking with a ton of new content, a bunch of new class changes, and the 20th anniversary giving you so many different items to collect. However, your collections are about to get even bigger, especially if you're trying to get all of the new limited time items that are available during the Hallow's End event, which recently went live over on the EU and NA realms. And with it, we got a new update and refresher for the holiday, which brings in a brand new transmog that can be collected from the Hallow's End dungeon, or rather the Headless Horseman encounter, but also there's an opportunity for players to be able to get all of the other Headless Horseman rewards, which are now farmable as of the newest changes for this update. But also we got some brand new items and cosmetics to earn from the vendors. Some of the newer cosmetics have been added for this year's holiday event, but also some of the other costumes and collectibles from previous updates of the Hallow's End. So for today's video, I wanted to go over how to get all of the different collectibles that are available for Hallow's End within the War Within expansion. All of the newer items, but also including how to farm up all of the older rewards to make sure you can collect all of these items before this holiday ends, and you'll have to wait until very next year in order to try for all of these items yet again. As always, if you want to see more guides for the War Within expansion, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. So first things first, now that Hallow's End is finally here, this is actually yet another opportunity for you to help catch up a bunch of your characters, especially if you're looking to level. Not only do we have access now to a 10% experience buff from the 10th or 20th anniversary update, but also the blessing with the Bronze Dragonflight for 10% additional experience gain, plus up to 25% additional EXP for every single max level character that you have in War Within expansion. But also on top of it, the event itself provides you a new buff called Grim Visage, where you get to paint your face with the Wickerman's ashes, but also increase your experience and rep gain by an additional 10%. So this is a fantastic time for anybody looking to catch up new characters. And to do this, all you have to do is head over either to outside of the Undercity as a horde, or outside of Stormwind as an alliance, throw the bonfire at the big Wickerman, and then take the ashes, and then apply them on your character. And there we go. Now you're ready to level some brand new characters. But for this event in particular, there's also other benefits, such as being able to collect a bunch of different cosmetics, which they keep adding onto every single year. And currently, this year's Hallow's End event presents us with even new cosmetics that we can obtain either from the dungeon that's available during the event, but also from the vendors as well. One of the new collectibles added for this year's event is the Patch Harvest Golem's outfit, which is very similar to the recent Hallow's End outfit that was recently made available within the trading post. But this one you can now unlock during the holiday event. Now the way you unlock this set is by queuing for the dungeon that's available during this holiday celebration, the Headless Horseman dungeon. When you queue for the dungeon and defeat the Headless Horseman boss, you get to loot a loot-filled pumpkin, with every character getting access to the loot-filled pumpkin once a day. And the loot-filled pumpkin is what holds pieces of the actual transmogs as well as other goodies during the Hallow's End holiday. The first character of the day actually will have a higher chance to get some of the better loot from the boss. And the entire list of items as of this update for the Hallow's End holiday is the new transmog pieces, but also all of the previous rewards from before, like the rare Headless Horseman mount, which I got very lucky with just the other day, but also other things such as a pet like Arthas, as well as there's a pumpkin pet. There's also a transmog helms and a transmog swords, and a variety of other goodies that are only available and exclusive to this event specifically. You can also activate hard mode of the dungeon by talking to the Wickerman at the start of the dungeon in order to enable a more difficult version of the fight with additional affixes. It basically makes all of the boss abilities just a little bit harder hitting and gives them sometimes brand new mechanics for you to avoid. It does make the encounter a little bit more challenging, as every single new mechanic that you get hit by, it does reduce your maximum health by 10% per ability hit. So it does make it a little bit easier for you to potentially die if you don't dodge all of the boss's abilities throughout the encounter, but it also does increase your chances of getting better loot. So in most cases, it's actually better to enable hard mode if you're trying to efficiently farm all of the rewards available for the Hallow's Event dungeon. So if you're trying to get the newly added transmog or any of the other previous Hallow's End rewards, all you have to do is spam the dungeon on as many characters as possible, with your very first character having a slightly higher chance to get some of the more rare items, and as long as you enable the affixes, you should be able to also further increase the chances of you getting additional loot and rewards. However, the farming for this dungeon and farming for the set is incredibly easy, as of this year's update, any character that's at least level 10 and above has the chance of getting the epic version of the loot-filled pumpkin. Previously, you could only get that at level 60 and above, but it looks like they reduced it way down to level 10. So now if you want to farm out the Hallow's End event as quickly and efficiently as possible, all you need is an army of at least level 10 characters. And the easiest way is to achieve that is through allied races, specifically non-earthen allied races, because they can get out of their like intro area as quickly as possible into Orgrimmar and Stormwind and can immediately start queuing for this dungeon. And if you are going to make yourself a level 10 army of ults in order to spam out this place, I would probably do it as a tank or a healer, just because they get way faster queues just to get into this dungeon. Just pick the classes that you're the most comfortable with just so you can get into it, blast the boss, and get out and hopefully claim all of your loot and rewards. At the start of the instance, also make sure to enable all the affixes, which technically make the fight a little bit more challenging, but they also increase your chances of getting loot and other collectibles in order to add to your collections, which I think is definitely worth doing. Also, speaking about collections, even things like the helm or the sword or any of the other armor collectibles that you can get as transmog from this dungeon, all of them cannot be obtained as any character, since all transmogs and other transmog items are now added to your warbands collection, not your character collection. So even if you get a helm, let's say on your warlock for instance, you'll still be able to use that helm's appearance on your warriors, death knights, and paladins, which is pretty cool when it comes to the whole warband feature. Besides the new dungeon rewards, we also got some new items that you can now purchase on the Hallows and vendors. Specifically, during this event, you can collect tricky treats, and there's a variety of different ways that you can collect these tricky treats, but they also come in limited quantities per character. And this is where you can unlock some of the more unique items for this event. And 4 new items have been added this year, such as the backpiece that matches the Patch Harvester's Golem set, but also you have the fist weapons that also match the set as well. Both of these items will cost you 100 tricky treats. But this year we also get some really cool new items like Prowler's Faded Shoulder Cape, which are very similar to some of the other shoulder capes that we've seen within previous events, but they are a little bit more tattered looking. But then there's also the ensemble of the Prowler's Faded Helm, which has 2 versions, either the hooded version, which does not have a mask, but also the Prowler's Faded Mask version, which look absolutely insane. The shoulders will cost you 50 tricky treats, while the helm will cost you 150, but with the helm you get both versions of the helm set. And then of course from previous Hallow Fall events, there's a variety of other cosmetic items like offhand pieces, helms, but also toys that allow you to dress up like the various villains of the WoW's lore, as well as some of the older toys as well as collectibles that you can find towards the later pages of the vendor. But to obtain all of these items, you'll need to find a way to farm up some tricky treats. And there's multiple different ways of collecting tricky treats, though some ways are more efficient than others. Technically, you could focus on just doing some of the daily activities, some of which are present at the actual vendor and the actual main grounds for Hallow's event for the Horde and Alliance, either in Undercity or outside of Stormwind. And there you have 10 once per holiday quests that gives you a bunch of treats, as well as gives you a bunch of daily quests that award you roughly 180 treats throughout the entire event. This combined together with about 6 to 4 that you get per dungeon run on every single one of your characters. Plus there's also a daily quest way out in Val Shara that awards you 4 to 6 treats every single day. So you can just farm it out through dailies, but it does take a little bit of time and is going to take you a number of days before you can buy all of those items, and you would have to do it on multiple characters in order to amass enough currency for every single one of the new rewards. And that's also not taken into account all of the previous rewards that you may have not obtained but still may want to obtain for this event. So while slow and steady daily activities eventually will unlock some of these rewards, if you want to farm the tricky treats, you may need a couple of characters, but the farming method for this is actually quite easy. The best way to farm trick or treats is to actually fly around and go trick-or-treating throughout every single inn in the game, all throughout Azeroth, for a handful of treats. And most characters can on average earn about 300 of these or so just from flying around collecting these from every single inn in the game. Thanks to skywriting, this task becomes even easier than ever before. Under most circumstances, it does take a little bit of time, and it does take a little bit of grinding because there's a lot of ins in the game, but you can focus on smaller regions and clear them out one by one on a few characters. Like, I'm currently working on this right now on my mage because you can port it around to different faction or rather expansion zones much easier, and I'm focusing on one zone at a time. Like right now I'm focusing on all of the areas and inns within the Dragon Isles, and those are very lucrative because there's so many different inns scattered throughout every one of the zones of Dragon Isles. And after finishing Dragon Isles, I'll probably focus on Outland, then Northrend, then Pandaria, and getting those zones done one at a time. It's a little bit easier than having to tackle some of the bigger continents like Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms all at once. And if you fly around for all of these inns, you'll get enough of trick-or-treats to get a huge portion of some of the more expensive items that are available during this holiday. However, trick-or-treats on its own is a weird currency because it's not a war-bound currency. In fact, it's not a currency at all. It's actually a consumable that is set and soul-bound to every single one of your characters. So if you are going to be doing the grind for all of the different collectibles from this event, whether you want to get the new ones or some of the old ones, you may have to delegate a handful of characters to do this on. And you may have to do this in-vendor trick-or-treating thing grind on more than one character if you want to buy literally everything that is available on this holiday vendor. But with that, that's going to be literally everything you need to know regarding the Hallows and holiday that is available during patch 11.05, the War Within expansion, overlapping with the 20th anniversary. As always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching this guide video, and I hope all of you did enjoy it. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like. I would very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community if you got any more questions regarding how to farm out this holiday, or if you got any more questions regarding the WoW's recent 20th anniversary update. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.